we at PATC received some intel, some information a few days ago on what happened during the Big Ten Winter Meetings. Or I should say, what did not happen during the Big Ten Winter Meetings that should have happened in this particular Winter Meetings. Welcome to episode 158 of College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, if you need a little bit of extra content to get you through the day, subscribe to our channel, smash that like button if you like our content, and share the video with your family and friends. Okay, so we received some intel. It may mean nothing at all. Probably it doesn't mean anything. Or it could mean everything. For those who've been watching Peek Around the Corner, who've been following us, you know, from time to time, we drop a little bit of intel, see if that dot connects with any other dots that get reported later on. We did that with Arizona State and what they said during the Pac-12 meetings, right? When we announced on January 31st that Arizona State was frustrated, they voiced their displeasure, and then the days following, you saw other media outlets pick that story up. Well, we've got some intel. Again, we have a question. We do not have the answers here at episode 158, but I wanted to share it. I wanted to have it out there so if other information comes in from those national reporters, could there be dots connected? Or maybe not. Maybe not. But first, I want to get to the story from Matt Hayes, an article he posted, to give it some backdrop here. We're going to lead into the intel that we received at Peek Around the Corner. But first of all, I want to go through Saturday out west, Matt Hayes, yesterday. Sources convinced Big Ten isn't finished rating the Pac-12. Now, there's some parts of this article I agree with, some part I don't. I will say it when I'm going through the article. I'm going to go through this as quick as possible, and I want you to put down your comments, your thoughts in the comment section below the video. Again, Matt Hayes yesterday, Saturday out west. Sources convinced Big Ten isn't finished rating the Pac-12. So we're going to continue with this charade, this exercise in futility. I'm in the article. Despite the inevitable, the Pac-12 may soon sign a new undervalued media rights deal. The Pac-12 may soon believe it has saved itself for the time being. But ladies and gentlemen, the Pac-12 isn't long for the new college sports landscape. Again, this is according to Matt Hayes. If anyone thinks the Big Ten isn't coming back for more, they're not following along, an industry source told Saturday Out West this week. The official end of the widely underrated Pac-12 arrives when the Big Ten finds a media rights partner, network or cable television, and or a streaming service to foot the bill for the conference to add more schools from the Pac-12. Because the Big Ten isn't leaving USC and UCLA alone on the West Coast, it must protect its investment. As we've heard at Peek Around the Corner, we said when this broke June 30th that USC and UCLA were joining the Big Ten, when it was finally announced, we said the targets were Washington, Oregon, Stanford, and Notre Dame. Other people said the same thing. We said here at Peek Around the Corner there would be a decision window between August 15th and October 15th. There was a go or no go for launch for further expansion at this time. In October, the second week, we at Peek Around the Corner says the decision was made for no go for launch for further Big Ten expansion at this time. And that is what we still believe today, February 25th. However, Pete Thamel announced a few days ago on an article he placed on ESPN that the Big Ten expansion door has been cracked open. And we'll get back to that in a second. I just want to put context to all of this. Back to the article. The Big Ten won't force student athletes from two of its top 5 brands to play all road conference games from 1,500,000 miles, Lincoln, Nebraska, to 2,800 miles, Piscataway, New Jersey, from campus. When USC and UCLA began Big Ten play in 2024, the top 5 pecking order Big Ten brand recognition is Ohio State, Michigan, USC, UCLA, and Penn State, and everybody else. Just to be clear, if UCLA's women's volleyball team is playing a game at Rutgers, that's a round trip of 5,600 miles, or about 6.5 hours each way on a plane. That can't be done without 2 nights in a hotel and 3 days away from campus. Those numbers are similar for every sport. Every road trip taken by USC, UCLA, and every road trip taken to USC, UCLA. Last July, a mere week after USC and UCLA officially informed the Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff of their intention to join the Big Ten, Kliavkoff spoke to travel issues USC and UCLA would face. The money they'd make in the move, he said, would be mitigated with travel costs and academic issues for student athletes. And he wasn't wrong. Well, yes, he was wrong. And this is where we disagree with this article. Kliavkoff was absolutely wrong. Of course the money, they're going to make way more money if going to the Big Ten, even with the travel costs. Now, you throw in academic issues, yes, there could be some. There could be some. That's a point that we do agree with here at Peek Around the Corner. And again, we have said there have been people in the Big Ten, not just Kevin Warren. There's people in the Big Ten who do not want to leave USC and UCLA home on an island. Okay? We've reported that over and over again. Back to the article. He also should have known right then that the Big Ten wasn't done expanding. No matter how former Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren spoke on a weekly basis. The Big Ten, which holds itself a conference of elite academia, isn't going to make a college life more difficult for student athletes just for media rights billions. You can call university presidents many things. They're not calculating and purposefully adding 2 universities more than a half a continent away and leaving them on an athletic academic island. It's obvious to me here at Peek Around the Corner that Matt Hayes is speaking to similar source that we have. I'm not saying it's the same. I'm just saying there are people in the Big Ten who do not want to leave USC, UCLA home on an island. After saying that, Peek Around the Corner, we believe the expansion door isn't open. Not yet. Not yet, but Pete Thamel says it is. Let's continue on. I just want to give you a backdrop to what we're about to tell you all with the intel inside the Big Ten. As much as we like to think, back to the article, as much as we like to think of the next round of expansion as an academia related, let's not be short-sighted. The move is also about strengthening a football conference that lags behind the SEC. The playoff moves to 12 teams for the final 2 years of the original contract, and will be then when we negotiated for the following deal. The payout of the estimated $1.2 billion annually for the playoff likely will be similar to the NCAA men's basketball tournament models of units of money played per game. Translation: the more games played by each conference team, the more money each conference earns. Adding Washington and Oregon, whose odds to win the 2023 national championship are greater than every Big Ten team other than Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, would give the Big Ten 2 legitimate football powers that not only have reached the 14 playoff, but are set up to consistently play November games of significance to reach the 12-team playoff. So Matt Hayes going back to the argument that the Big Ten would be interested in Oregon and Washington just because of the quality, and there's a lot of other reasons, but the quality of the football play going into college football playoff expansion in 2024, 2025, where it's going to be 12 teams. In 2026, when we don't know what it's going to look like, the great gold rush of 2026, it could be expanded to 16 teams. There could be more at-large bids. Back to the article. It also would give the Big Ten unique television markets, Seattle and Portland. And this is hard to ignore. Bring Nike founder and Oregon mega booster Phil Knight into the fold. ESPN is the likely media rights partner for the Pac-12, but whenever a deal is complete, it won't be enough to keep Washington and Oregon in the fold. It won't be enough to keep the Big Ten from protecting its investment in USC and UCLA. And finally, in the article, and once Washington and Oregon leave, the Pac-12 ceases to exist as a Power 5 conference, the charade will finally, mercifully end. Okay, so that was Matt Hayes. I just wanted to put that out there. There are other people reporting this. It is known. It wasn't just Kevin Warren that wanted to add more Pacific Coast schools. He didn't have the votes. He did not do a good job of circling the votes, to whipping the votes, to getting the votes, to building consensus to get the votes. Fox Sports wasn't all that interested in getting the 17th and 18th school. There are a number of Big Ten schools were against Big Ten expansion, for the Big Ten expansion. That's why it was a no-go for launch. And right now, we believe here at Peek Around the Corner, there is not the votes to proceed. However, two things. One, Pete Thamel, ESPN, says the door has been cracked open. And number two, we receive some strange intel of the Big Ten winter meetings that just concluded this week that we wanted to show you or share with you. Again, it could mean nothing, or it could mean something, or it could mean everything. I want to give you some backdrop. I have to explain this so the intel has some impact to you, because it has impact to me at Peek Around the Corner, because we lived through this before. Gopher 1968, that is me at Minnesota 247. I rarely put anything up here at Peek Around the Corner, which I've said in the past at Minnesota 247 when we gave people Peek Around the Corner at Minnesota 247, owned by the great Ryan Burns at Minnesota 247. He still allows me to put down posts about stuff that we believe is about to happen in Big Ten and in nationwide. I always run it by him first. He's always allowed me to put information down. This was September 16th, 2020. Now you may at 8:46 p.m. And I'm going to give a link to this post because it's longer than this, what you see in this picture. And I got other pictures, but I couldn't gather them all up in one picture. It was too long of a post that I made September 16th. But I'm going to provide a link in the description box below the window of this post. So if you have a 247 account, VIP, you can read the whole thing as it was written. And I'm doing this because I want to give you just a backdrop of why when we received this information in the Big Ten winter meetings, it was like, what is this? Okay, so let me continue. I posted this September 16th. This was during the time when the Big Ten finally decided they were going to play an 8-game schedule during the pandemic season. And they were trying to figure out the scheduling. 8 games, you're going to play 6 teams in your division. And then you're going to have 2 crossover games. And people were speculating all over the place what their team's crossover games were going to be. So we posted this September 16th. This is not official. It is not believed Big Ten has cemented in any Big Ten crossover games with their 14 team schedules. However, this info comes from BTM and Associates, as you all know. And if you don't know, check the pinned tweet at Flag Empire on Twitter, and you'll learn about him and his associates, giving us the source of this information that we put on Peek Around the Corner here on this YouTube channel. However, this info comes from BTM, the source, and it's a list of each school's highly probable crossover games for the 8-game Big Ten schedule, which will be scheduled before the December 18-19 games. This list was given to BTM this evening. The December 18-19 games, if you remember, for those who are fans of Big Ten schools, that was going to be the conference championship game, and then they were going to schedule it where the second place team in the East plays the second team in the West. Third team plays that finished in the East would play the third place team in the West, so forth and so on. So we got a list Well, BTM received a list from a certain somebody. We'll circle back to that certain somebody. We're not going to give you the name, obviously, but that is where the impact of the winter meetings intel we received a couple days ago. So I want to go through this story first, just to show you something here. Okay, so we received a list. This was the list. Nebraska, again, we received it September 16th. Nobody else had this information. Nebraska was going to play Penn State, Ohio State. And our list not only put the two crossover games, but the home and away game. Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota at Minnesota. Wisconsin, Indiana at home, Michigan on the road. Northwestern was going to play Maryland at home, Michigan State on the road. If you check this list out, Minnesota, Michigan home, Maryland on the road, Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern on the road. So forth and so on. If you look at this list, Michigan State's, Iowa, Penn State, Ohio State, Nebraska, Illinois. Illinois would play Ohio State, Rutgers, Indiana, Purdue, Wisconsin. Okay. So we put all that out there. Purdue would play Rutgers, Indiana, Rutgers, Illinois, Purdue. All of that on September 16th. Again, we're putting the link in the description box below the window. This was September 16th. September 17th, there was reports out there that Big Ten was hoping to finalize their schedule in the next couple days. Then, on 9:54 a.m. September 19th in the morning, about 2.5 days after we released what we were given, intel that we were given, Big Ten releases their schedule. The Big Ten Conference announced today the schedule for the 2020 football season, including an 8-game conference-only schedule starting the weekend of October 24th, plus a 9th game for all the 14 teams during the newly created Big Ten Champions Week, the weekend of December 19th. So list the schedule of every team. Okay? It just so happens that the list we were provided on September 16th, given a peek around the corner to Minnesota 247, was absolutely correct. 100% correct. Not only the crossover games, but where they're being played home and away. Now, I'm not putting this up there. I'm not showing you this just to get a pat on the back for something that we put out there two and a half years ago. What I'm trying to tell you all is that person who gave us that information that was dead on, that nobody else had, okay? That person was completely expected to see a resolution of the Big Ten scheduling for 2024 and going forward, and who would have who as their permanent rivals. That was supposed to be resolved. But more importantly, during this winter meeting, but more importantly, let me remind all you something. Give me a second here. Scott Dockerman, February 21st, 4 days ago, tweeted out, Big Ten athletic directors and league officials concluded their winter meetings Tuesday morning and no action was taken on football schedules. There's a general consensus divisions will go away in 2024, but nothing is finalized. No action was taken on football schedules. No action. But there was supposed to be action taken. Now, why wasn't there action taken? According to the person who provided us all the information correctly, BTM, one of his associates, gave us the exact correct information in 2020, said there should have been resolution this winter meeting. But there wasn't. They didn't pull the trigger. We know the reasons. We can conclude this. It wasn't because of the bickering, of them having not having consensus built on who's each team's permanent rivals were going to be. In other words, according to an associate of BTM, they had the process figured out, so that wouldn't be the issue. They had where each school would present their choices from 1 to 5 or something like that. They would put it into the hopper. The Big Ten would kick out options. They would vote on it. It would be resolved. In other words, them not having the permanent rivals, the schedule figured out for 2024 and beyond, has nothing to do with them not being able to reach a consensus. They didn't even vote. Something is stopping them from voting on it. It's not because they have disagreements. Of course they have disagreements on who each school should have as permanent rivals, but they already dealt with that. They already built the process to deal with that. Each school listed down their top 3, 4, 5 permanent rivals, and that goes into the Big Ten. They kick out the options, and that's what was going to get voted on, and that was supposed to produce each team's permanent rival during this winter meetings, but it did not happen. We don't have the answer of why it didn't happen, but we have an answer in why it wasn't because of disagreement. Like we all thought, like we all speculated. When Scott Dochterman put that information out, 99% of us said, well, they're still arguing about it. No, not according to BTM Associate. That isn't the reason. They already built the process to deal with disagreement. That's already been done. You remember, this is like the 5th or 6th time the Big Ten have pushed away the decision to figure out who each team's permanent rivals are going to be. We've had athletic directors, Mark Coyle, Minnesota, other ones, Purdue's athletic director, over the last months saying, well, we're getting close to making our decisions on scheduling, conference schedule, and they keep pushing the decision away. And this time, it's not because of disagreements, because they already built the process to deal with that. So why is it? Why is it? Is it because the Big Ten expansion door is cracked open just a bit? Like Pete Thamel, the great reporter Pete Thamel of ESPN said a few days ago in an article in the ESPN Plus. Is that the reason why? Is it the reason why they pushed the decision away for their permanent rivals for each school? Is because they don't know, they're not sure about the total composition of what the Big Ten's going to be in 2024. Maybe they're only 95% sure, maybe they're 98% sure, but they're not 100% sure. Is that why they didn't come to a resolution? Because I can tell you, this befuddled our associate, BTM associate. He's been on this. He says it's coming. The permanent rivals should happen. And why? They didn't even give us an explanation out of the winter meetings, officially, the Big Ten, and why the permanent rival list still hasn't been figured out. Is it because they don't know the composition? Is it because there's some back and forth in the back channels between the Big Ten and possibly, let's say, Washington? See, we can't pin that down. We have no smoke on that. Pete Thamel says the door's been cracked open. Is coming out of the winter meetings without the permanent rival list, is that smoke to what Pete Thamel says there's fire? Put down your comments in the comment section below the video. Let me know your thoughts on this. What other reason is there to keep delaying the permanent rival list? Now you might say, like I have said, it's because they can't come to an agreement. Penn State wants this, Ohio State wants this, Wisconsin wants this. But we have been told all that was dealt. They built the process to deal with that. This now was time for resolution, and it did not happen. And the Big Ten did not explain why it did not happen. Is the Big Ten expansion door truly cracked open just a bit? Just a bit. We're going to be following this story and others here in college football, the crazy landscape that it is. So hang with us, keep with us here at Peek Around the Corner. Until next time, from all of us at Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, you all take care of each other. Thank you so very much.